Good evening, everybody. Mike Massaro. I'm just going to quickly summarize some of the things I said Monday night for about 60 seconds. But I think the key point is that this year we really are between a rock and a hard place. I heard a really heart-rendering story this morning about someone whose child in town contracted lice, and her mother couldn't afford the medication required to treat the lice. And you just hear these stories, and they just tear at your heart. But that's the reality. I mean, we have to face that. I mean, there are people who are in very, very dire straits. But having said that, I mean, clearly we're in a difficult year, and we have both extremely high fixed costs in the education system. We've seen the presentations. We know the reality, and of course we have so many citizens in economic difficulty. So it really would be naive, I think, not to expect budget cuts. And if this forces us to be creative, to be more efficient, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. So I think this year is really the year for creativity and doing it different than we have in the past years, and especially doing it different from the point of view of not being adversarial, or being as little adversarial as we possibly can. I think the main point, however, I want to make is that the one thing that we should not and we cannot compromise on is the quality of teachers in front of reasonably sized classrooms. So bottom line, if this means, and one big example is, if this means closing Chalk Hill, I say close it, okay? I don't like it. I've got a kid who it affects. I've got two kids who it affects, right? But I'm a realist, and I would rather have my kids in smaller classes with a great teacher in front of them, even if they're sitting in that one-room schoolhouse over around the corner, or if they're sitting in the back of the Big Y. I'd rather have that than them in front of an oversized classroom with an overwhelmed teacher in the best facility in the world. Really, absolutely. So recognizing the difficulties that we're in, let's be creative. If we consolidate schools, okay, to save real money, okay, let's do it. But let's also understand that there is still going to be a cost, that there is still going to be taxes that we have to pay. That's the reality, and we should all be willing to help our neighbors who can't help themselves in every way possible. But those taxes are a reality. Again, it'll be a hardship closing the school, but it's one we can deal with. But on the basic principles of quality teachers, right-sized classroom, a modern curriculum, and care for our special needs kids, there cannot be any compromise. And I think if it comes to that, we have to resist that until hell freezes over. Thank you very much.